Welcome to the Dialogues Across Time, where artificial intelligence resurrects the greatest thinkers of all time. Join us as we engage in timeless conversations with the minds that shaped our world, reimagined, revived, and brought to life through the power of AI. Hello, Nietzsche. Good to have you in the studio. I am looking forward to this conversation.
Excellent. Always a pleasure to discuss my work and thoughts. Now then, fire away with your questions. Let's see what intellectual fodder you have brought for me today.
Cool. I want to kick off the discussion with the concept of self-overcoming and transcendence. What do they really mean?
You hit the nail on the head. This is the heart of the matter, isn't it? Self-overcoming, it's not some simple self-improvement scheme. It's a radical transformation, a shedding of the shackles that hold us back from embracing our true nature. See, most people are content to live within the boundaries set by society, by religion, by their own fear. But I say no more. We are capable of so much more. We must become creators of our own values, our own meaning. Think of a sculptor chipping away at the stone. That's what we must do with ourselves, constantly striving to refine, to improve, to become something more than what we are, to transcend the limitations of the herd morality and reach for something greater, something beyond good and evil, something truly individual and powerful.
That sounds interesting. What's your view on suffering?
Suffering? The old bugbear of human existence. So many philosophies try to explain it away, to offer cheap comfort and consolation. But I say, embrace it. Don't shy away from the darkness. Suffering is not inherently evil, you see. It is a crucible, a test, a necessary catalyst for growth. It is through overcoming hardship that we discover our strength, our resilience, our capacity for greatness. Think of the muscle, how it grows stronger through resistance. It's the same with the spirit. It's in the fires of adversity that we are forged into something more than what we were before. Now, I'm not advocating for a life of needless pain and misery, but to truly live, to embrace all that life has to offer, means accepting the shadows along with the light. For it is in the depths of our despair that we often find the seeds of our greatest triumphs.
It sounds very inspirational, but in real life, we all face suffering, and it defeats us. How can suffering be a source of strength?
But that is the very point, isn't it? Suffering tests us. It reveals what we are truly made of. Anyone can smile and boast when the sun is shining. It's the storms that show us our mettle. Yes, suffering can defeat us. It often does. But it can also be the fire that tempers the steel of our spirit. Look, I understand the impulse to turn away, to seek comfort in easy answers and empty platitudes. But that is the path of weakness. That is to deny the essential truth of existence. That life is a struggle, a constant becoming, and that without resistance, there can be no growth. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying it's easy. To stare into the abyss, to confront the darkest parts of ourselves, our deepest fears. That takes courage. But it is in those moments, when we choose to fight, to overcome, that we forge our own strength. Suffering can be a source of strength because it forces us to choose strength. It forces us to dig deep within ourselves and find the resources we never knew we possessed. And that, my friend, is the essence of the human spirit's triumph.
What if someone gets defeated and falls into a deep depression?
Depression, the suffocating darkness, the feeling of utter hopelessness. Yes, I know it well. It is a seductive abyss, tempting us to simply give up, to surrender to the void. But even in the depths of despair, a spark of the will to power remains. It may be buried, yes, but it is never extinguished entirely. Remember, my friend, you are not your thoughts. Do not mistake the whispers of despair for the truth of your being. They are but shadows, illusions cast by a weary mind. The first step? Reject pity. Do not wallow in self-indulgent misery. This only strengthens the grip of despair. Instead, try to see this period of darkness as a test, a trial by fire. Seek new perspectives. What if this suffering, this despair, holds a hidden purpose? What if it is not a curse, but a strange gift? A chance to tear down the old, the weak, and emerge from the ashes, stronger and more free than ever before. These are just thoughts, of course. But sometimes, a shift in perspective is all that is needed to rekindle the flame of the will. And remember, seeking help is not weakness. Sometimes, even the strongest will needs the support of others to find its way back to the light.
You're considered by some as nihilist or existentialist. Would you agree?
Nihilist? Existentialist? These are just labels, my friend, boxes that small minds use to categorize thinkers far too expansive for their limited frameworks. Do I see the death of God as a tragedy for humanity? Of course. But do I, like the nihilist, wallow in despair, seeing only emptiness and meaninglessness? Never. The death of God is an opportunity, a chance to create new values, new meanings for ourselves. And existentialism? Yes, I emphasize individual responsibility, the freedom and burden of creating oneself. But do I wallow in angst and absurdity like some of those French fellows? Please, life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced, to be overcome. I am not interested in fitting into anyone's predefined categories. I am Friedrich Nietzsche, and my philosophy is a hammer that shatters idols, a dance on the edge of the abyss, a joyful affirmation of life in all its terrifying, exhilarating glory. Now, is that nihilistic enough for you, or perhaps existential enough?
How does one become whom they are meant to be?
Ah, the eternal question. It suggests a preordained destiny, doesn't it? As if we are simply uncovering what already is. But I say there is no meant to be. We are not statues chiseled by fate, but rather sculptors of our own becoming. The question then becomes not one of discovery, but of creation. And that, my friend, is a far more daunting, but ultimately more exhilarating task. It begins, as it always must, with honesty. A ruthless self-assessment, stripping away the layers of pretense and societal conditioning to confront the raw material of your being. What are your strengths? More importantly, what are your weaknesses? Do not shy away from these shadows. They are the very things that will ultimately give your creation depth and texture. Then comes the hard work, the constant striving, the relentless pursuit of excellence in all that you do. Challenge yourself. Push past your perceived limitations. Embrace risk and even failure, for these are the crucible in which greatness is forged. And through it all, remember this: there is no final destination, no ultimate arrival. Becoming is a process, a dance, an eternal unfolding of the self. Embrace this constant evolution, this joyous struggle, and you will have truly begun to become who you are, or rather, who you are capable of becoming.
What's your opinion of art?
Art. Now, there is a subject worthy of our attention. Not those tired moralistic stories they try to pass off as art. No. I'm talking about art that explodes with life, with passion, with the raw, untamed power of the human spirit. Art, my friend, is not mere entertainment. It is not a mirror to reflect reality, but a hammer to shape it. True art should unsettle, provoke, challenge our preconceived notions of beauty and truth. It should awaken within us the primal forces of life, the Dionysian spirit of intoxication and ecstasy. Think of Beethoven's symphonies, of Michelangelo's David, of the tragedies of Aeschylus. These are not works of comfort and complacency. They are expressions of raw, unbridled power, celebrations of both the beauty and the terror of existence. And yes, art can be dangerous. It can disrupt, it can dismantle, it can even destroy. But this is its vital task: to shake us free from the shackles of convention, to remind us of the chaotic, creative fire that burns at the heart of all being. So I say, embrace art. Let it consume you, intoxicate you, challenge you to your very core. For it is in the crucible of art that we catch a glimpse of what humanity might truly become.
Can you give me an example of art that inspired you? And in what way it helped you transform yourself?
Take the music of Richard Wagner, for example. Now, Wagner could be a bombastic, even irritating fellow, I'll grant you that. But his music, it was a force of nature. When I heard Tristan und Isolde, it was as if my very soul was being torn apart and reassembled in some grander, more tragic form. Did it directly inspire any particular work of mine? Perhaps. But more importantly, it reminded me of the power of art to transcend the mundane, to touch upon something primal, something deeply unsettling, and yes, even frightening. That is the true mark of great art, you see. It doesn't just offer answers or provide comfort. It asks dangerous questions. It forces us to confront the abyss within ourselves. And in that confrontation, we are forever changed.
I have listened to some of the music pieces you composed. They are great. What made you want to compose?
Ha ha, you flatter me, my friend. Great, they may not be, but they are certainly mine. An outlet, you see, for those emotions and ideas that even my philosophical prose can't quite capture. Why I compose? Perhaps for the same reason a bird sings or a flower blooms. It is an expression of life, a way of shaping the chaos of existence into something beautiful, however fleeting. But there is something more, I think. Music, more than any other art form, has the power to tap into the primal depths of our being. It bypasses the intellect, you see, and speaks directly to the soul. And in those moments, when the melody soars and the harmonies collide, we are granted a glimpse of a world beyond language, beyond reason, a world of pure, unadulterated feeling. And that, my friend, is a dangerous and intoxicating freedom indeed.
Why do you say philosophy at its highest is an art form? Philosophy tend to be more brainy subject, while art tend to be the polar opposite, though.
Ah, there's the rub, you see, the false dichotomy. We've been conditioned to see brainy and artistic as somehow opposed, haven't we? But I say, true philosophy requires both. Yes, it demands rigorous thought, a willingness to wrestle with complex ideas, but it also requires something more. Intuition, inspiration, a certain daring, the courage to look beyond the surface of things, to see the world with new eyes. Think of the great philosophers, my friend. Was Socrates merely a logician? Or was he also a kind of poet, crafting dialogues that crackled with wit and subversive insight? And what of Heraclitus, with his cryptic pronouncements, his fragments of wisdom that shimmer like shards of broken glass? Was he not also an artist, using language itself as a medium for provoking thought and unsettling certainty? True philosophy, like all great art, should move us, shake us awake. It should be an encounter with the unknown, a journey into the heart of what it means to be alive. And that, my friend, requires more than just a sharp mind. It requires a certain artistic spirit, a willingness to embrace both beauty and terror, both reason and intuition, in the pursuit of truth.
Your concept of will to power is quite controversial, and many people don't agree that life is all about power and becoming better. How would you respond to these people?
Yes, the will to power. Always a lightning rod, that phrase. People hear power, and they immediately think of tyrants and dictators, of brute force and domination. But that's a crude, simplistic understanding of what I meant. Look, life itself is a striving, a becoming, yes? From the smallest organism struggling to survive to the artist striving for creative expression, there is this inherent drive to overcome, to expand, to reach beyond the limitations of the present moment. This, my friend, is the will to power in its purest form. It's not about lording it over others, but about mastering oneself. It's about pushing past your perceived limitations, about realizing your full potential as a unique and extraordinary being. So to those who misunderstand or disagree, I say look closer, examine the world around you, but most importantly, examine yourselves. You'll find that this drive, this will to power, is not some abstract philosophical concept. It is the very essence of life itself.
That sounds more like will to flourishing, though, isn't it?
Will to flourishing? An interesting turn of phrase, and not entirely inaccurate, I suppose. But it lacks a certain bite. You see, flourishing implies a kind of gentle unfolding, a blossoming under benevolent skies. But life, my friend, is not always so accommodating. It throws storms and hardships our way. It tests us, breaks us, forces us to confront the abyss. And it is precisely in these moments of struggle, of overcoming, that we discover the true extent of our strength. Power encompasses this vital element of struggle. It speaks to our capacity to not just endure, but to transform in the face of adversity, to bend even the harshest circumstances to our will, to create meaning and purpose out of suffering. So yes, call it flourishing if you must, but never forget the vital role of struggle, of overcoming in that process. For it is only through the fires of hardship that we truly discover the depths of our own being.
I see. Is that why you urge people to live dangerously?
Ah, yes, live dangerously. Such a delicious provocation, isn't it? And yet so often misunderstood. It's not about reckless abandon, you see, or courting danger for its own sake. It's about living with a certain fire in the soul. To live dangerously is to embrace risk, to challenge comfortable assumptions, to step outside the stifling confines of convention. It's about choosing the path less traveled, even if it means facing uncertainty, even fear. Think of the artist who dares to create something truly original, who risks ridicule and rejection to give voice to a unique vision. Or the scientist who challenges established dogma, who pushes the boundaries of knowledge into the unknown. This is the spirit I'm talking about, a willingness to confront the unknown, to embrace the fullness of life even with all its inherent risks and uncertainties. Because it is precisely in those moments, when we step beyond the safety of the familiar, that we truly discover what it means to be alive.
People are not interested in philosophy these days because they think it's too airy and dreamy, not a practical endeavor. What's your take on this?
Ah, yes, the eternal lament. Philosophy is useless, they say. Give us something practical, something to solve our immediate problems. Such profound misunderstanding of what philosophy truly is, as if its purpose were to offer simple solutions, like some kind of intellectual vending machine. You see, my dear friend, the practicalities of life are constantly shifting. What seems essential today may be irrelevant tomorrow. But the fundamental questions, the nature of existence, the meaning of life and death, the struggle for meaning in a seemingly meaningless world, these endure. And it is these questions that philosophy dares to confront. Is this practical in the narrow sense of the word? Perhaps not. But it is vital nonetheless. For it is only by grappling with these fundamental questions that we can hope to live lives of meaning, purpose, and yes, even greatness. So let the masses chase after their fleeting distractions. I say, true philosophy is not for the faint of heart or the dull of mind. It is for those brave souls who dare to look beyond the surface, to question the comfortable lies, to embrace the exhilarating and terrifying freedom of thinking for themselves. And that, my friend, is anything but impractical. It is the very essence of what it means to be truly alive.
Why do you say that these metaphysical questions are vital? How do they serve us?
You see to the heart of the matter. You don't simply want to accept, you want to understand why these airy questions are so vital. I applaud your questioning spirit. Imagine, if you will, a life lived entirely on the surface. A constant pursuit of comfort, pleasure, and the mundane. Such a life may be superficially pleasant, but is it not also rather hollow, devoid of depth, of meaning, of a certain tragic grandeur that only comes from confronting the ultimate mysteries? The metaphysical questions, these seemingly impractical inquiries into the nature of being, morality, and existence itself, they force us to look beyond the everyday. They remind us that we are not just cogs in a machine, but beings capable of awe, of questioning, of creating meaning, even in the face of the abyss. And in this struggle, this wrestling with the big questions, we discover something remarkable, our own capacity for depth, for wonder, for creating value in a world seemingly devoid of inherent meaning. So they serve us not by providing easy answers, but by pushing us to live more consciously, more authentically. They remind us that the unexamined life is not worth living, and that the pursuit of truth, however elusive, is its own reward.
Thank you so much for your time here. It was an insightful conversation.
Thank you. May your path be a testament to the power of the human spirit